guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 53, here with my always brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek. Fight Geek, how you doing today, man?
Doing excellent, a little hungover maybe, but happy to be back talking fights.
That goes for both of us, unfortunately. I hosted a party for UFC 246, and what a night it was. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a lot to discuss. Here's what's on tap for today. First, we're going to do a quick news and headlines section where I asked Fight Geek about some of the events that immediately happened after UFC 246. Then, we are jumping into the UFC 246 recap and reactions. Conor McGregor's sensational return, 40-second knockout over Cowboy Cerrone, unbelievable. After that, we're jumping into the UFC Raleigh the UFC Raleigh card. I was distracted. I didn't know how to pronounce it. I kept calling it Raleigh, and Fight Geek helped me. So UFC Raleigh, Blades versus Dos Santos. We're going to go preview and picks for that. Then a news section outside the UFC. This focuses on MMA and combat sports that isn't involving the UFC. We're going to use that opportunity to discuss Bellator 238, Bud versus Cyborg. After that, it's my favorite section, listener questions and more. Whew, that was a lot, Fight Geek. I'm kind of out of breath. I'm supposed to ask you a question, but I'm tired. First of all, what did you think of the main event? Because I think I can speak for both of us when I say that we did not expect McGregor to win in 40 seconds.
Agreed. I think we both took McGregor, but, I think a lot of people, the narrative after the fact is always, that he should have done this to Cowboy's old, he's been stopped. There was a lot of intrigue in that fight going into it, and yeah, I think it was a favorable matchup for Conor, but Conor still had to go in there and execute and do what he did, which I think is a very, very positive sign. So yeah, I was extremely impressed as a comeback fight. Do I think he's the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world right now? No, I do not, but that was a great way to get the Conor McGregor train back on the tracks, in my opinion.
Yep, totally agree. Honestly, my jaw hit the floor. I really was in shock. I mean, people know I picked McGregor to win, but I will admit it when I'm wrong. I was wrong. I really didn't think Conor could get it done in 1, 2, or even 3 minutes. I thought, okay, second round was possible. Maybe the very end of the first. I didn't see anything like that coming. So let me jump into my big question for you, Fight Geek. So, Jorge Masvidal was obviously there. It seems like people were expecting Conor to call out Jorge on the mic after. He, of course, did not do that. Didn't call anyone out. And then afterwards, in the post-fight press conference, Dana White seemed really dead set on making Khabib versus Conor 2. It was odd. He was almost speaking as if the Ferguson fight wasn't even happening. Very
odd.
Very odd. Didn't mention Tony's name once, of course, Dana White. And here's my question. Conor also said in the cage that he's not going to be waiting if that fight happens. He said that he wants to fight soon. He loves welterweight. So here's the two-part question. First, who do you, Fight Geek, want Conor to fight next if it was up to you? Second, who do you think Conor will fight next?
I want Conor to fight Masvidal next. I think that the storylines have just intersected, and it's a perfect time to make that fight. And I think based on what Dana's saying and how hard he's pushing for it, he will end up fighting Khabib, which I don't think is a fight many of us want to see, at least at this point. That was not a fun fight. The build-up wasn't fun. I think that a fight with Masvidal allows us still to have a little more fun with McGregor. It may even be a little bit more winnable of a fight for him, in my opinion.
Okay, so I've got a huge question for you there. You just said that you think that Conor Khabib 2 is Conor's next fight, correct?
Yes, based on what Dana's saying, obviously.
Okay, so McGregor has said, he doesn't want to wait. He said all these things about last week, even possibly 4 times he told Ariel Helwani he may fight this year. Obviously, the timeline is completely off, right? Khabib versus Tony's in April. Then there's Ramadan. So I'm just wondering, does that mean that you think that Conor is just going to wait on the sidelines until the very end of the year?
Well, this is why what Dana is pushing for is so bizarre, because that's what he's essentially calling for, is that Conor to sit out the majority of the year if his next fight is Khabib. So all I know is what he's pushing for. It's hard to say. I don't think Conor's going to stay out till the end of the summer or whatever. So, I don't know. That's the tricky part of the question. That's what makes it confusing for Dana to be pushing so hard for, because I think the natural timeline is obviously Masvidal. Masvidal is ready to go. Conor took 0 damage. They could make that fight anytime in the next 90 days, and it would be perfectly set up. Then, if they want to give Conor a fight versus the Tony Khabib winner, I think it's a pretty disrespectful how it's being discussed as a foregone conclusion almost that Tony's going to lose to Khabib, which may happen, but I think we've got to see that play out first. What if Tony wins?
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So there's a lot that's going to happen here. I think Masvidal, based on the fans' reaction and the social media interest, is the fight to make, but Dana bizarrely is pushing for that Khabib fight, even though when that fight was building up and since then, he has not had a lot of favorable, conversations about that fight, at least to the public. He was saying that wasn't fun, it was dark, this, that, and the other thing, and yet now he's pushing for it as soon as he possibly can. It's kind of like speaking out of both sides of his mouth.
It's so weird to me because here's the thing. I just legitimately don't understand who are these people that are screaming for Khabib versus McGregor too. I know there's some because they're on Twitter and they talk to me very loudly.
Right.
In their shouting voice.
He's somewhat, blinded by their love Conor fans. I mean,
it's the most
still so
diehard.
Yeah. They believe that he's going to avenge that loss, and I mean, who knows? This is MMA. He may someday avenge that loss. I just don't think that's going to be. But
here's what I don't get. If you're a McGregor fan, right? You just saw McGregor literally completely humiliate Donald Cowboy Cerrone in the biggest way imaginable at welterweight in 40 seconds. Why would you not want to do the Masvidal fight? Because in my opinion, Conor, at least he knows that Masvidal is going to strike with him. And by the way, now I don't even know what to think about the Masvidal-McGregor matchup in terms of, I used to think, Masvidal will crush him. We'll talk about more of that later.
Yep.
But now it's way closer to me, right?
I mean, it's intriguing. I think it's,
Hasn't it gotten closer? You feel it's closer than it was before yesterday?
I definitely think it's closer. I definitely think that, Conor has grown into 170. Even though he's short, he still has a good reach, and he's incredibly powerful. I don't know, we'll break the fight down more, but he really showed you a lot of the prime McGregor traits with his aggression, his finishing ability. He was a closer as soon as he got on him. He showed his athleticism. That left high kick was something new that we hadn't seen Conor necessarily land a lot before. So the shoulder shrugs that he was using were violent, and I feel like made a difference.
Absolutely.
So I mean, Conor, well, again, looping back around to your first question, this was a favorable matchup for him. He came in and did exactly what he needed to do to announce himself as at least, still a superstar in the sport.
Okay, last thing, and then we'll move on, and then we'll jump into the rest of the UFC 246 card recap and reactions. But really fast, breaking news. I don't know if you saw this, Fight Geek. I saw this 5 minutes before we started recording. But Abraham Kawa, yes, this is Masvidal's manager. Abe Kawa said that he has it on good authority that Kamaru Usman is injured from his 245 fight and will not be able to defend anytime soon. And he has openly proposed an interim welterweight title fight between, you've guessed it, Jorge Masvidal and Conor McGregor. Does this change anything in regards to, your thoughts here?
I mean, if there's an interim championship on the line, I think Conor scoops that up as soon as possible, because that's his claim to a third belt in a third division, which, well, although it's somewhat illegitimate due to there being a clear-cut champion in Usman right now, I think.
But that's why it's an interim belt. That's why.
Well, exactly, but I think that's why it would interest Conor more so, because then he can always, whether he was the clear-cut champion or not, have that third title attached to his name. So, yeah, I think if that were the case, that would change things dramatically.
Do you not believe that that's accurate? I mean, I don't see why Abe would make that up. If I'm being
I'll take
honest, why would Abe make that up, though? I mean, because if Kamaru's ready to go, then Kamaru's just going to disprove it
Well,
tomorrow.
the UFC, I wouldn't put it past the UFC to get Conor in an interim title fight as soon as possible, especially off of something like that. I mean, that was as good of an outcome from the UFC as possible. Now they can, package that little clip a million times and show Conor being dominant, getting another victory. Now the narrative about him not winning in 3+ years is done.
Yep.
So they can really build him again.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's keep it moving. Let's jump into the rest of the UFC 246 recap and reactions. Obviously, Conor McGregor defeating Donald Cowboy Cerrone via TKO punches exactly 40 seconds into the first round. Incredible performance. Is there anything we haven't covered there?
No, I just thought, Conor came in aggressive, missed his first shot by a mile. I think he got somewhat lucky how his leg
He
swung
caught him
through
with the leg, though. Exactly.
Yeah, well, Cowboy ducked his head and ended up taking like an inadvertent, thigh or knee to the head, which I think got him on the defensive right away. And then you saw Conor land that head kick, which was really came out of nowhere, in my opinion. I expected Conor to be a little more planted and not as quick, but I think he showed quite a bit still, with his athleticism, especially his power striking. So Cowboy just wilted under the power and pressure of Conor McGregor, which, if you're McGregor, I think is a very positive sign.
Yes, and you reminded me of one thing. I've been seeing some people saying that Cowboy took a dive. Absolutely not, guys. He did not take a dive.
He ended up in the hospital.
Yeah, that's totally
wasn't
crazy.
Able to go to not only that, and if you watch this sport and you know Cowboy Cerrone's career and you saw the look on his face, how disappointed he was that
he was holding back tears.
The narrative around his career is that he's gotten to these big showcase fights and never done well. This was another opportunity for him to, kind of change that narrative. He was unable to do it. He was heartbroken.
Yep.
Anyone who thinks that he threw that is insane.
Totally agree. Really quickly, I almost forgot before I jumped into the rest. I have a note here that says, Fight Geeks flip-flops with sandals. Listen, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a short story. So up for 50 through episode 1 through episode 52 of this show, never has Fight Geek changed his picks after the show and then on Twitter when he lists the official picks. They're always the same as are mine. Then I look at his picks for 246, and he's changed half of them. So I wanted to make sure that I called him out.
There was a little bit of paralysis by analysis on my end. I was so eager
You got
to see
them all wrong that you changed. That's what I was about to say.
I pretty much lost everyone I changed. So, yeah, it didn't work out in my favor.
You changed to Pettis. You should have trusted Diego.
Yeah, the Pettis fight, and we can just hop right into the Pettis fight. Because,
let's do it. Let's hop right in.
Well, the Holm Pennington fight, I don't think there's much to say there.
That was a horrendous fight. The less said, the better.
Olenek was obviously...
Olenek is an anaconda. I saw Verdum call him out. I like that fight. Let's go. Let's make it. Moving on.
Sure. Sounds good. And then the Pettis-Diego Ferreira fight.
Oh, wait. Kelleher quickly defeating Ode Osborne via guillotine choke in the first round, 249. That was impressive from Kelleher.
Yeah, is it O'Day or Ode?
Yeah.
Osborne, he looked way out of his depth as soon as he was on his back on the ground, and then he basically gave that neck to Kelleher. So, yeah, good win for Kelleher. He was obviously in a tough spot there. That guy was pretty athletic, super explosive, so it was a big win for him.
Absolutely. Let's keep it moving. Okay, so Carlos Diego Ferreira versus Anthony Showtime Pettis. Guys, this is one that Fight Geek flip-flopped on. He flippity-flopped.
Duke Rufus and Anthony Pettis talked me into a fight week. And then he weighed in. He looked so good, but, I just don't know how much fighting spirit is left in Pettis. He looked the part. He was taught, I thought he would have a clear striking advantage, but he just doesn't have a ton in the tank anymore. I hate to say it. But big win for Ferreira. He's obviously very skilled. He has a lot of heart. Good. He's got a lot of heart, and he just keeps coming, and he just crawls up your back. He gets your back. He's very pesky, so... he's a tough out for sure. Him versus an Islam Makhachev would be interesting, in my opinion.
That's fascinating that you brought up Islam Makhachev, because I was just going to say, I was just looking at the rankings, and I see Islam Makhachev he's ranked number 15 at lightweight. By the way, folks, he has faced no one ranked ever. He has never won a ranked fight. Diego Ferreira just took out Showtime. it will be fascinating to watch these rankings because we all know Islam, look, his ranking better not go down. Or, you're going to get a call from Khabib, very upset. So
exactly.
it'll be fascinating to see. But
so you like that fight?
I love that fight. But
and what do you do with Pettis next? I know we got a bunch of questions.
Can Pettis retire? I mean, I wish him the best. I don't want to see him become the next BJ Penn. Retire with your with the legacy you got.
How about if they both really insist on fighting, him versus Cowboy?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. I mean, yeah. We'll get,
all right, we'll get into that a little later.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to probably the most talked about. I mean, obviously, Conor fight was the most talked about, but second most talked about fight on the card: Macy Barber versus Roxanne Modafferi. Yeah, Juice, we know.
Yeah, Juice. Okay, by the way, I don't know if you listened, Fight Geek, but I did catch a little bit of. He just released his new episode, and he demands a very sincere. He was being really serious. He's so cute with his sincerity. It's adorable. He was like, I demand an apology. Sorry, that's not how he talks. But he was saying, I demand an apology from Fight Geek and Phil the MMA dude. And I just have to say,
what
Aaron,
are we owe an apology for?
Aaron, I would like to apologize so much for absolutely nothing. Kiss my ass, Aaron. Oh my gosh, bro. You thought I'd apologize? Kiss my ass, dog. That will never happen. And I hope Roxanne loses the next fight.
Oh, this is getting too personal for me. But no, I mean, I don't have anything to apologize for. I picked Macy. Huge win by Roxanne.
Yeah, Roxanne's great.
This is why we watch the sport, because the unpredictable nature of it. You know what I mean? If I knew who was going to win every single fight, and if every single one of my favorite fighters won every single fight, it wouldn't be the same sport. So enjoy it, Juice. Big win by Roxanne. I think she really threw Macy off with her kind of unorthodox striking early. She won both of the main striking exchanges, in my opinion, So I think Macy still showed a lot of heart, especially fighting through that injury to at least threaten in a couple situations. But, probably the biggest win in Roxanne's career and the biggest
definitely.
Spot. So, I had no problem with it. Yeah, Macy's brash and she's outspoken, but that's, that makes it funner whenever she is funner a word. More fun when she loses, and that gives you a reason to celebrate when your favorite fighter wins. So that's
so Fight Geek, first you're flip-flopping picks, and now you're making up words. Are you kidding me? What won't you do?
It was a late night.
Okay, fair enough. All right. I agree. Good job, Roxanne. Honestly, I lost a lot of money on that, so I'm pretty bitter. I'm as bitter as they come, I'd say, for this fight. And it's even more annoying how nice Roxanne is, makes it even worse.
When did you realize this was like 100% not going to be the fight you thought it was?
Honestly, pretty early I saw that Macy was in very serious trouble.
Macy was really uncomfortable with even the initial striking in the first round, which was very surprising. I think the herky-jerkiness of Roxanne, she landed a couple jabs.
Yeah.
It was just a big-time learning experience for Macy.
Right, absolutely. The last thing I want to say, and I know this might get some eye rolls from the people that are Roxanne fans, whatever, is Macy, look, she toughed out. She could have so easily gotten finished there, and she toughed it out. I mean, especially between the second and the third rounds, I remember she was bleeding so bad from the head, and she was just like, I'm fine, let's go. Pushing away the guy who's trying to cover the gigantic gash in her head. She didn't give up for a second. Credit to Roxanne. Great job, Roxanne. Aaron Jackson from Fighting With Myself podcast will never, ever get an apology from me. Come see me in California if you want it. Personally, I'll give you that 3-piece in the soda. Woo!
Sounds really intense.
Thanks.
All right.
Sadiq
so what's next for
Youssef.
Roxanne? What do you got? What do you got next for Roxanne?
Jessica I, baby.
That makes sense. I like
Jessica
that.
I.
And what do you got next for Macy? I think she's probably going to have an extended break due to that knee.
This is what I don't know if you heard, but that news just broke about 45 minutes ago. A fully torn ACL. So what I've got for Macy is physical therapy and no fights for a year and a half, and a very questionable future.
Year and a half? Get real. First
torn
of all, she's
ACL,
23.
bro. Torn ACL. Fully torn ACL.
22 years old, pro athlete. I think we've seen people come back from that. I mean, she's obviously tough break, but I don't know if it's a full year and a half. I may be wrong.
We'll see.
Sucks, though, if that's the case.
It does suck. Sadiq Youssef.
And I don't think people should be, celebrating a 22-year-old athlete having a serious knee injury, win, lose, or draw. Just my little 2 cents.
I'm so.
Well, I know Macy's catching a ton of hate, and when you're as brash as she was, I think that's fair game. But nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. Hopefully.
Yeah, that's Aaron's fault. That's Juice's fault. So whatever.
All right.
Sadiq Youssef defeats Andre touchy-feely. And listen, I just want to say there was a moment where I was in front of all of my friends. These are the guys. These are the most casual of casuals. They don't know anything about Andre Feely. They barely know McGregor's name. And I go, "Let's go, touchy-feely!" And everyone looked so horrified at me because they did not know that was his nickname. And I felt very creepy.
But did you think that was fight of the night? Because I did.
I think that was probably, we could say that was fight of the night.
They were swinging like crazy. Youssef was landing heavy shots.
I told you Andre has a chin on him.
Yeah, Andy has the length. He was still, even though he was eating big shots, being able to land some counter shots as well to keep Youssef honest. It was a great fight.
Yeah, totally agree. I believe that you got that one right. This is one of the few you got right, I got wrong. I went 9-2. I did pretty well. But I believe you chose Sadiq. I chose Andre touchy-feely. What's next for Sadiq?
The 145. I don't know. That's a tough one. He's going to be creeping into that Kelvin Qatar range, somewhere like that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at Shane Burgos is number 12.
I think somebody, maybe Brandon the Truth. I don't know. Somebody mentioned potentially Sadiq Youssef versus a Josh Emmett fight. I think that sounds pretty good.
Okay. I could get on board with that. I think
it's time for him to break through the top 15 for sure, get a bigger name, and see where he stands. I think Feely's really that fringe top 15 guy in that division.
Is Josh Emmett fighting Arnold Allen at UFC Raleigh? Because I ask that because no one's talking about it, but that is on mybookie.com. It's very weird. It's a very weird one.
He's fighting Nick Lentz, I believe.
That's what I thought. That's what I had written down. Now I'm looking at Josh Emmett versus Arnold Allen is staring at me in the face on mybookie. Okay, well, let's move on. But very bizarre.
Losing credibility by the second here.
Okay, I'm telling you guys the sources. You've got to go to 30 different sites. Even Tapology's wrong. I'll get to
All right. Well, that was just a hypothetical fight anyways. We'll get to the next one. So I'd like to see him fight someone like that. Maybe the winner of Arnold Allen versus Nick Lentz gets Sadiq Youssef. That'd be a good one.
Okay, I like that. Quickly, Askar Askarov defeats Tim Elliott via unanimous decision. I don't have much to say.
It was awesome seeing Tim get stiffened up and then still not drop. That was pretty interesting.
Oh, that was cool. He's got a chin on him. Okay, lightweight. Yeah. Drew Dober defeats Nasrat Haqparast.
One of the highlights of the card, Drew Dober looked amazing.
I chose Drew. You chose Kelvin Gastelum Light. That's on you. That's a win.
What do you think of Drew Dober, though? You think he's ready to crack that top 15? Is he in that vicinity? Who do you want to see him fight next? I think this is clearly the best he looked physically. A little more trim, obviously very technical, powerful shots.
All right, I've got a fight for you right now, without question. I know exactly who Drew Dober fights. I'm not even kidding. It works perfectly. Number 14, Alexander Hernandez. Make that now.
Makes a lot of sense. I could see that.
Yeah. Okay, so then moving on. The early prelims, Alexa Kamer defeats Justin Ledet via unanimous decision. I got that right. You got that wrong. And then
so all these fights were so close it didn't even matter.
No, I know. I know. The first two were like BS choices, kind of. I'm not gonna lie. Sabina Mazo defeats JJ Aldrich defeats split decision. I got that right. You got that wrong. Again, kind of BS, sketchy cards there, but I wanted to take the low class credit and wanted to cheap shot that.
All right, let's keep it moving.
Moving on. So we are now going to move on to the UFC Raleigh picks and preview. Blades versus Dos Santos. Let's keep this quick. Go ahead. The main event. Curtis Blades versus Junior Dos Santos. Who you got, baby?
You know, kind of a tough fight. Haven't spent a ton of time breaking it down, but I am going to take Curtis Blades via TKO second round.
All right,
Ground
all right.
and pound.
Which one?
Ground and pound.
Okay, ground and pound. All right, I've got Curtis Blades via ground and pound in the 4th round. I think it's going to be a long physical fight. I do think Junior Dos Santos, JDS, is gonna look decent there before going down. Moving on, RDA versus Michael Chiesa. I'll go first. I have RDA by unanimous decision.
I have RDA by submission. I haven't really locked down the round yet. I think it could possibly be early, but we've seen Chiesa fall to a cut. I think he's been beaten via submission 3 out of his 4 losses. RDA still considered a pretty solid jiu-jitsu guy. I think he wears him out and subs him.
Yeah, okay. I definitely don't want to go through this entire card. So do you see stuff that you want to call out here?
Arnold Allen versus Nick Lentz. You got any thoughts on that one?
I've got Arnold Allen via decision.
Okay, so do I. Yeah, it gets thin, huh?
It gets thin.
Jordan Espinosa, Alex Perez should be a fun action fight.
I got Alex Perez.
Yep. Hannah Cyphers versus Angela Hill. Super exciting fight.
I'm gonna
take Angela Hill by split decision.
No, I got Cyphers.
Okay, we disagree there.
Split
Jamal
decision
Hill versus Darko Stosic. Jamal Hill should be a decent newcomer. Stosic, kind of know what you get. You got any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I got Darko Stosic. Despite him being the underdog, I think he's going to get that one done via unanimous decision.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and agree with you there. So, Bevon Lewis versus Daquan Townsend. You got any thoughts on that one? Should be a banger.
I think that's a close one, and I think that Daquan Townsend is being a little overlooked here. Having said that, do I think he's going to beat Bevon Lewis? No, I don't. So I got Bevon Lewis by knockout second round.
I'm taking Bevon Lewis, and I'm taking him by TKO. All right. Montel Jackson versus Felipe Colores.
I got Montel Jackson in this via unanimous decision.
Okay, here's probably one of the more name fights on the card, which tells you what kind of card it is. Sarah McMahon versus Lena Landsberg. Who you got?
Yeah, this is a tough one. And their Vegas odds are just about even. I got Lena Landsberg. She's the slight underdog, and I got her winning this by late submission in the 3rd.
Tough. I'm going to take Sarah McMahon on a flyer here. I know she's had some up and down results, but she's still super powerful. I think that she can get Landsberg down and grind her out.
All right. Okay. Anything else we wanted to cover on this card?
Nothing that really calls out to me.
All right. Let's keep it moving. It is time for yet another new segment outside the UFC. So outside the UFC this week is going to cover Bellator 238, Bud versus Cyborg. This is Chris Cyborg's first fight with Bellator since leaving the UFC against Julia Budd for the Women's Featherweight Championship. First and foremost, let's start off with this. Who you got, Fight Geek?
I think it's a super intriguing fight. I think Julia Budd's a lot more live than most people are giving her credit for, especially considering, Cyborg's aging a bit. With that being said, I'm going to take Cyborg by a very split decision. I think this is going to be a dog fight. Yeah, really? I think Julia Budd's going to push her. I think Julia Budd is really physically strong enough and athletic enough to push Cyborg, but I think Cyborg will have just enough. But I think it's going to be a very exciting fight.
All right, so this is where I push back. I think you're crazy that it's going to be so close. Maybe I'm being disrespectful to Julia Budd. I can't wait to find out. I think Cyborg is going to finish her in the 2nd round TKO.
That's very bold. I think Cyborg, we haven't seen that type of a Cyborg recently.
Maybe we also haven't seen her against Bellator caliber. We've seen her against the UFC caliber. So we'll see.
Yeah, I truly believe Bud would do just fine in the UFC as well, though. I mean, Bud is a good fighter.
No, I know.
I can't.
The truth is, I can't wait to see that fight. That's going to be a great one. But moving on, Darian Caldwell, the co-main event. Darian Caldwell versus Adam Boric.
Great co-main event. This is a great fight.
It is. It really is.
You go ahead.
Okay. After much thought, I got Adam Boric. Am I saying that right? His last name?
Boric, yeah.
Boric. Okay. I got Adam by unanimous decision. I know that this is a 5-round co-main event for the featherweight tournament. I think Adam's going to find a way through. He's undefeated for a reason, guys, and people are sleeping on him.
Yeah, such a close fight. I mean, Caldwell definitely has the ability to wrestle him. But I'm going to take Boric here, too. I think, him by split decision makes a lot of sense.
Okay, cool. Let's keep it moving. We definitely don't have time to cover every fight, but Sergio Pettis making his Bellator debut versus Alfred Kashakian, who is 11-4. Who you got?
I mean, I'm not familiar with Alfred's work, but I think it's a big, probably a big spot for Pettis, and Bellator is probably matchmaking him in a way to make him look very good, so I'm going to take Sergio Pettis.
Yep, and then really quickly, Juan Archuleta versus Shootout at the OK Henry Corrales.
Another super tough fight. I think I'm going to take Corrales in a firefight.
Ooh, I got Archuleta in a firefight, but we shall see.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one.
Okay, and then
we'll a couple names on the prelims. Ava Knight, one to watch. Aaron Pico makes his return.
Pico, let's go Pico.
They've dialed back his matchmaking a little, I believe, so this should be a good bounce back performance for him. Unfortunately, Dylan Dennis isn't on the card anymore. I was looking forward to seeing him perform.
Curtis Millender?
Yeah, Curtis is making his debut for Bellator. Don't know why he's so buried on the prelims, but
neither do I. Very bizarre.
He should be exciting, and if he's facing any form of lesser opponents, can knock you dead. So
yep,
that. And then I think AJ Agazarm versus Adele Altamini is interesting, just because they're fairly, they're maybe not well known.
Who you got? I got Agazarm.
I've got. I'll take Agazarm.
Look at his fence sitting. Agazarm.
Yeah, and then also, they like to call him the Nate Diaz protege. Chris Avila is also going to be fighting on this card. I mean.
Yeah. They need to relax with the Nate Diaz protege words, but okay.
All right.
Okay, all right, guys. We're going to take a really quick break, and then we are back with my favorite section, listener questions and more. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude letting you know that this episode of the Split Decision Podcast is brought to you by TotalAggressionClothing.com. Visit www.TotalAggressionClothing.com and use the promo code 46210 to receive a special Split Podcast discount on all Total Aggression hats, shirts, hoodies, and more. Again, that's www.TotalAggressionClothing.com with promo code 46210. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 53, here with my brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek, and it is now time for my favorite section, Listener Questions! Thank you, Fight Geek. So do you have any questions to start us off tonight?
Yes, I got a couple from Instagram. One from Jim Asoon. What's up, Jim?
Jim, what up, Uncle Jim?
He says, what did y'all think of Macy grabbing the mic after her loss? I know this has been a topic of conversation, everybody piling on Macy. Go ahead.
Honestly, I loved it. Was it obnoxious? Absolutely. Was it rude? Absolutely. Was it disrespectful? Absolutely. But Macy is a born villain, and I love it. Go, Macy. Team Barber forever. She'll be back soon. She'll be better than ever. It was obnoxious and rude, and I loved it.
Yeah, I didn't really... I kind of was like, why is she talking first? It's just, I was more taken off guard than I was, annoyed by it.
You're not amused by her evilness? It amuses me.
Well, I don't think it's evil. I just think that, she's been brash and outspoken. And so, in our culture, everyone's just dying to pile on. So, but I think she's the type of person who's built for it. I don't know. It really didn't register for me that she spoke first. She's very complimentary of Roxanne. I would say that Macy's arguably an equal star, if not a bigger star to Roxanne. So for her to go out of her way to really big up Roxanne there, I thought was cool. So
yeah, very fair. Very fair.
Right. I got one more from DJ Double Drop. He says,
DJ Double Drop, what up?
You guys know of any support groups out there for Cowboy fans?
Oh man, what a brutal time for a brutal question.
I'll let you take that one.
Really? Did I sound ready for that?
No, I'm just kidding. We don't have to answer that.
Man, listen, bro. I'm so sorry. It's time. Listen, dude. I think you gotta old yeller that guy. No, is that too harsh?
I mean,
take him around the back of the shed.
For him at this point, he's not gonna beat elite guys clearly. So I mean, if you want to put him in there versus lower, somewhat lower tiered guys.
But I love him more than that, and he's better than that, and he doesn't deserve that. So old Yeller him.
My question is at this point, has he taken too much damage to be able to fight?
I think he has.
As often as he wants to.
I think he's taken way too much damage because, I mean, McGregor in 40 seconds at 170? What? I mean, I'm not trying to take anything away from Conor. I mean, we've already discussed that.
Cowboy was stopped by Gaethje like 3 months ago.
That was at 155, man. That wasn't at 170.
Yeah, but still, that doesn't. I mean, Conor obviously has power at 170. That narrative that his power may not translate, I think, is gone.
It's gone now, obviously.
It was all those a few years ago. I mean, guys like Leon Edwards couldn't finish Cerrone. I think that went 5 rounds. Even Masvidal, who beat the hell out of Cerrone, took him 2 rounds,
Yeah.
Tony Ferguson was going into the 4th round with him. So the fact that Conor was able to dispatch him.
No, Tony was going into the 3rd. Yeah, because that was only a 3-round fight.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So, Conor really put a stamp on that.
Yeah, absolutely, totally agree.
And I think that's, partially Conor looking great and also partially the damage accumulating for Cowboy.
Absolutely. Okay, so let me read a quick question. This is from our good friend, Dean Robs. Dean, what up? This is at Robs Dean. He says, were you guys as impressed with Drew Dober as I was? What's the ceiling for him? Thanks. #AskSplitPod.
Yeah, I was impressed by him. I think his ceiling is...
We touched on this a little.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of, don't get me wrong, this is a very, light comparison, but like a poor man's Justin Gaethje in a way. He has the wrestling.
Easy, relax.
He has wrestling. He has some pocket boxing. Obviously, big power for a 155er.
Dean, I don't agree. I think that's harsh.
What do you mean?
I think you're being harsh on him by saying a poor man's
Gaethje.
Harsh on him? I mean, yeah, Gaethje's great, but I think Drew Dober has a very high ceiling because guess what? I said earlier, who did I say he should fight? Alexander Hernandez, right? Do you know? I think Dober would kill Hernandez. Let me be clear. Dober's gonna whoop that guy's ass.
A little overstated there.
You like Hernandez?
Another guy who people love to hate on. But who still has a lot of talent. But I think that's a fair fight and.
Dober's going to whoop that ass.
Do you think Dober has the ultimate potential to get, to beat like a Paul Felder?
I think that him versus Paul Felder is a duel. I'd love to see that. That sounds like a good fight. That sounds like a real good fight.
Drew Dober versus Gillespie is a good fight too.
Yeah, you know what? I heard that mentioned the other. Yeah, I really like that.
That makes a lot of sense.
Actually, Dober versus Gillespie makes, I love that fight.
I think he's definitely, right in that, 11 to 15 range in the lightweight division.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, do you have one or should I go?
Keep going. You're good.
Okay. This is from Tabs. This is from Tabs. Tabs is a big John Bones Jones fan. Tabs, I want to make sure I read your question correctly. He asked a lot of questions. This is at Tabs1172. He said, thoughts on Conor's performance and how you see the McGregor versus Masvidal fight turning out. Phil, I know that you have been saying that Masvidal will steamroll Conor for the last few weeks, and your opinion hasn't changed. Why has it not changed? How do you see the fight playing out? And then he put in all caps, no biased answers, Phil. Don't worry. Okay, first of all, I love these questions. So, guys, feel free to go harder on me with these. I love these. Thank you, Tabs. Don't worry. I don't give biased answers unless they're regarding John Jones. How do I see? Yeah, it's true that I've been screaming for the last few weeks that Masvidal will kill Conor. Now I think that it's a more competitive fight. I think rather than a first-round knockout, Conor might make it to the second round. I really don't mean that as
I
don't mean that as disrespectfully as it sounds. I don't mean that as disrespectfully as it sounds, but I think
nobody's stopped Conor via strikes, and you have him being stopped via strikes by Masvidal in the second round when he just looked as good as ever.
Masvidal's too big for him. That's the problem. It's not a fair fight. Masvidal's much bigger, dude. The reach isn't. You're a fellow boxer. You know reach isn't that important.
It is important because he can get his hands on you. Conor knows how to use his
Not
reach
if you have timing and head movement, it's not.
That's a much closer fight than Conor getting stopped in the second round. You're out of your mind. That is a very tough fight. I would see that fight right now as, a tough couple early rounds where they're exchanging. Obviously, both of them tiring a tad bit in the late rounds, and maybe Masvidal having just enough in those late rounds to edge Conor. But I think that's a split decision.
Oh, come on, man. That's just as crazy. You think that my call's crazy, Fight Geek. Your call's crazy.
My call's just as crazy as you calling for something that's never happened.
McGregor had every chance to call out Masvidal last night, and he was silent as a mouse.
Will you admit Conor has a good chin, yes or no?
Of course he does.
And would his chin arguably be the best at 170 because he's not cutting weight? True or false?
I mean, he did get knocked down by Khabib.
At 155. At 170, hypothetically, wouldn't your chin be the best because you're fully hydrated?
Okay, that makes sense.
So you're saying that Conor, who has an already solid chin, would have his best version of that chin, yet you still think Masvidal stops him in less than 10 minutes? I think you're crazy.
I think it's a great fight. Look. If I'm proven wrong, I'm here to eat all the crow, guys. I ain't going nowhere.
All right, let's keep it moving. I've got another one from Ali Ra. One from Ali Ra.
Ali Ra, what up? One of our most loyal, dedicated listeners. Ali's the man. Give him a follow, guys.
He says, if Conor McGregor stays active like he says he will he capture another UFC title? And more importantly, will he defend it? You want to go?
Yeah, so when I asked Ali, I immediately tweeted back and I said, just to clarify, does that include the BMF title? And he said, no, gold only. So that would be gold from lightweight or gold from welterweight. And I believe very sincerely that Conor, as great as he's looked, will not capture the welterweight or the lightweight gold again. I feel like I sound like a hater saying this because he just had this great night. But I just don't see it happening. He's not going to beat Khabib again. And no, I don't think he's going to beat Tony. He certainly ain't going to beat Usman. What do you think, Fight Geek? Am I being too negative? Tell me.
I just think you're really long-winded. But no, you're not being negative.
Isn't that the pot calling the kettle black?
I do not think Conor's going to hold another belt unless it's that interim belt possibly that Phil was alluding to earlier. That's an opportunity for him to hold another belt. But the guys who are currently holding the belt are the exact type of fighters that Conor McGregor is not built for, those wrestling-heavy, cardio-type fighters. I just don't see it happening. Does not mean that Conor can't have a lot of great fights. Doesn't mean that Conor's not a great fighter. Just don't think that he'll capture either of those belts.
Yep, okay, agreed. Really quick, one more from Tabs. He says, thoughts on Jones and his fight versus Reyes? And I think he was trying to get me to say something biased because
we'll get there on the Jones versus Reyes stuff. That's still a couple weeks away, but it's a very intriguing fight. Can we agree on that?
It's an intriguing fight, and I agree. We've got to leave something for the next coming week, so we're not going to get too into that one. But it's an intriguing fight. I will say that.
All right, I got here one. I got one here from Jalen Ware.
Okay.
He says Dana is saying Khabib versus Conor 2 is the fight to make now. Is he making a big mistake by overlooking super dangerous Tony Ferguson? And after April, Khabib may not fight again until the fall with Ramadan near. Hashtag AskSplitPod. Great question. I think we've talked about this a little bit. I think it's crazy to count out Tony Ferguson. Khabib versus Tony Ferguson is a fight to see who the greatest lightweight of all time is. Both of those men have a claim to it, I feel like, and it will not be determined until they fight. So to just overlook that fight because Conor looked good in a fight that's not even in the same division is just wild to me. So I think Tony has a chance, and if Tony wins, I think that throws a big wrench in everything.
Yeah, totally agree. I think Tony's got a big chance. And guys, let me remind everyone of two things. Number one, there's a big misconception that if Conor says, I'm going to stay ready, if there's a late pullout, I'm going to be ready. Guys, McGregor said that exact same thing leading up to UFC 223. And then Ferguson got injured, and then Conor felt pressured to do something, but of course had not stayed ready whatsoever. So he then went to Vegas and almost destroyed the entire card by throwing a dolly through a bus window, as we know. I won't get into that. But there is zero...
That was Brooklyn, though, not Vegas.
Okay, it doesn't matter. There's 0% chance. My point, Fight Geek. Thank you, smartass. My point, Fight Geek, is there's 0% chance that Dana lets Conor fight on less than 3 weeks' notice to, replace Khabib or Tony in the event of an emergency. We know that, and Conor knows that.
Because they need at least 30 days to tell you that he was the first simultaneous two-bout champion 1 million times while they promote every single one of his fights.
But do you agree with me that there's 0 chance Conor...
Yeah, he's not going to be fighting on
Conor
short notice.
is not fighting at 249, guys. It doesn't matter if someone pulls out. Gaethje will take the spot. It will not be Conor McGregor. I can't say it enough.
All right, let's keep it moving. We got a lot of questions. You
okay.
Keep adding to it. Let's go.
Go ahead. I'm answering the questions with thoughtful critique and insight.
Okay, sounds good. MMA Assault asks, are you guys buying into the new McGregor persona, or do you think it's just some form of PR stunt?
Yeah, so two things. I think that number one, it's definitely partly because of the legal things that he's facing. I'm sure he's been told, stop with the, total caricature, laughing, evil stuff. Number two, I think that he legitimately did have a lot of respect for, and does have a lot of respect for Cowboy Cerrone, and that was very legitimate. And he even answered a reporter's question who said, "Are you going to be this way if you rematch Khabib?" And he said, "No, it is what it is. We have bad blood." So
I think you can tell by the end of the fight when Conor immediately embraces Cowboy that there was a genuine respect there from Conor's side. I do think Conor has been humbled by by some of the experiences and some of the things he's dealing with. I do think he's matured in a way. So yeah, I do think this is somewhat of a new Conor, but I do also think that there are some things in his PR to make him look good. The ESPN interview with Ariel was very softball interview, making him look good, not having to answer anything too specific. Then he's dedicating the fight to his mom, which he's never done stuff like that. So I definitely think there are, some PR aspects to what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. This question is from Victorious1612. He says, if Conor fights Justin next, hopefully around March, where does that leave Dustin Poirier? Hashtag AskSplitPod. Do you want to take this first? Or should I?
It leaves Poirier kind of in no man's land. Maybe he can fight the winner of a Paul Felder versus Dan Hooker. That would make a lot of sense.
Wait a second, but you think Conor might fight in March on a fight night? I immediately responded to this and said, I don't think Conor's going to agree to headline a fight night, and the first time that he could headline a pay-per-view is 251. 250's in Brazil, and it's likely going to be Cejudo Aldo. So, I don't see this happening until at least 251, McGregor fighting again.
That makes a lot of sense, Detective Phil.
Thank you.
I can't disagree with that.
Yeah. Those were my thoughts, Victorious. My thoughts were that, I do think that McGregor may fight Gaethje next. If it's not Masvidal, I would think Gaethje's the second most likely. But that's going to be the headliner of a pay-per-view, and that won't be until 250, perhaps 251 soonest. Okay, let's keep it moving.
All right, I got one from Jacob Powers.
Jacob Powers, what up?
He says, we've seen Dylan Dennis scheduled at catchweight for his last 2 fights. Could Bellator make a 165-pound official to end up taking a lot of the free agents from 155 to 170 from UFC and other promotions that refuse to make that an official division? I think this is a great question.
That's
what do you
such
think?
a good question. Jacob Powers. Wow, what a good question. I love that.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea in theory. My only problem is that still, Bellator just doesn't have the depth, but I guess maybe if they had another, sales pitch that's appealing, like
this
a
is the
165
perfect
pound
way.
division,
This is the perfect way to get
it definitely would be. But yeah, I mean, it seems like a great idea, honestly.
Jacob, are you looking for a job? You need to hit up Scott Coker and Bellator because they could use you. I'm being dead serious. I wish Bellator was smart enough to think of something like you are thinking of. That's a brilliant strategy. Make a 165-pound division in Bellator. That is so brilliant, Fight Geek. Seriously, I mean, I'm got goosebumps over it. That's brilliant. Yep. That is such a clever way to draw away potential UFC fighters to Bellator.
I agree. I think it would be good. I don't know how powerful it would be.
Well, because can Bellator afford to pay that many of them? That's the real problem.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's keep it moving. Meep MMA.
Meep MMA, what up?
He says, with Khabib and Tony around the corner and Dana hellbent on making a rematch with McGregor and Khabib, what happens if Tony wins? Will the rematch make sense then? No, it doesn't make sense now or then. I think Conor versus Masvidal makes all the sense at this point for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And if Khabib loses to Tony, there is no way McGregor is going to do the Khabib rematch. You kidding me? It's already a bad matchup. He'll fight Tony or Masvidal. Certainly would be wise to. He's got way better chances against them than Khabib in a rematch, in my opinion.
Right. Okay, I got one from Cyrus King.
Cyrus. Isn't it
Cyrus?
Cyrus,
yeah,
what up?
Cyrus. All right, he says, if Anthony Pettis were to leave the UFC, where do you think is better for him, PFL or Bellator? Go ahead.
More like which one will have him, PFL or Bellator. No disrespect to Pettis, but some disrespect to Pettis. I think he'll be lucky to have the PFL, agree to have him. Am I being too harsh? Fight Geek's giving me a look like I'm losing my mind.
I think the PFL would love to have him.
No, I know. I'm just being sassy and obnoxious.
I think the PFL, I wouldn't favor Pettis versus Michael Chandler in Bellator. So,
but who's he going to lose to in the PFL? I'll tell you who. Nobody.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think PFL would be the play. I think he actually would have an opportunity to make the most money there with the $1 million if he'd win, but I'm not sold that he would even win that tournament.
Yeah. Oh, man. Wow. Can you imagine if Pettis did? Yeah. You know what? If Pettis got signed to PFL, there would be incredible pressure for him to win. And if he didn't, it'd be horrible.
And it's just going to be like the pressure for Rory to win. Everyone's going to expect Rory to go over there and win.
Oh, Rory better win. He'd better win
that. And if he doesn't, everyone will think he sucks, which isn't fair. But, that's just kind of how it works.
It's a little fair. PFL's pretty bad, so I think it's a little fair.
It's not pretty bad.
It's pretty fair. Pretty fair.
Okay.
No? Okay.
Let's keep it moving. All right. I got one from Spartan Sports MMA.
Spartan Sports MMA, what up?
He says, I think this Conor KOs Tony. What do you think? If Tony can't pressure him back, he'll have to trade. And if most can knock him down, what will Conor do? Good question. Got an answer?
Yeah, I've heard that a lot, that Conor KOs Tony, and I've heard the reasoning a lot because Tony has a questionable chin and does get knocked down a lot. And you know what? He does get knocked down a lot. But that's not happening.
He also barrel rolls out of it.
Right, exactly. Guys, Tony's
in deep water and then wraps up your neck and cuts you up with elbows.
Yeah, I think that people are forgetting that Tony is a demon from the bowels of hell. So, unfortunately,
the one thing that really kind of sucks for Tony in the fact that, this title shot has come so late is the fact that, there's no guarantee that we're going to get the best Tony Ferguson ever. He's getting older, man. If you think about
we haven't seen him drop his level yet, have we?
I don't know, but I don't necessarily feel like this this fighter, how old is Tony? 36?
36, yeah.
36 fighting Khabib is necessarily as good as it would have been with Tony fighting him like 4 years ago when it was originally scheduled or whatever, when he was 32.
Yeah.
I think
no doubt.
It's unfair that Tony's getting this opportunity so late in his career, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. That does not favor Tony. That favors Khabib. On the other hand, it's in New York, which arguably favors Tony because that 244 doctor who does not like blood.
As Tony continues to age, it's more and more likely for him to start to not look like that demon from hell that you're describing. So maybe he'll surprise us and, extend that, but that's a very hard style to extend late in his career, and he's already been like that for 10 years or whatever.
I mean, I saw him fight Cowboy Cerrone at 238 live, and he didn't look like he'd lost a step.
I mean, very true.
Yeah, so we'll see. All right, have we done a question from Respect the Depths?
We have not.
Okay, this is from Respect the Depths. Respect the Depths with all. He says, what do you think the UFC should do to stack pay-per-view cards with more contender and title eliminator fights? We saw yesterday that we don't need to have matchups with ranked fighters to get an action-packed card, but wouldn't it be better if we had better names for the price of the pay-per-views? Do you want to go first? I've got a lot of thoughts.
Yes, it would be very nice, but my theory on this is whenever you have someone like Conor McGregor who makes more than some fight cards combined, generally, you're going to get a thin card. It's just the cost of talent. When Conor's on the card, he eats up so much of the payroll that they have to find, fewer and fewer big names.
Absolutely. I think, you just took the words out of my mouth, right? They know it's going to sell. The other thing is, you brought up title eliminators, Respect the Depths. You brought up title eliminators. I love that. Title eliminators, in my opinion, I love how they do title eliminators for the most part right now. And for the most part, there's of course exceptions. They use Fight Night main events to do title eliminators, which is 5 rounds. I'm a big believer in the 5-round title eliminators. So I do like that, I won't lie.
Yeah, I like that as well.
Yeah. So, all right, do we have any more questions, or is that it?
Oh, we do have the one from Kairos. You have that one queued up?
Oh, shoot. Okay, while I pull that up, I wanted to quickly say something. I want your thoughts on this quote, Fight Geek. During the post-fight presser, Dana White said, while shooting down the Masvidal fight to a reporter, he said, and this is the exact quote, "If Conor and Masvidal fight, neither one of them even has a title, although Conor does want his BMF title." So, is Dana White trying to protect Conor from a Masvidal fight?
No, but I definitely think that Dana's not, treating the BMF title like the general public is. We're acting like that's a belt to be defended, and he keeps alluding to that that's really nothing at all.
Although he literally contradicted himself in 2 sentences. First he said, neither has a title. Then he said, although Conor wants Jorge's BMF title. He literally said that in 2 sentences.
Yeah, I think it's clear. I don't know why, would Conor insist on Masvidal putting up that BMF belt, or would Masvidal just say, that's my belt from beating Nate Diaz, it's not on the board? I think that would really come down to the fighters in that situation, right?
Yeah, I would hope that, look, if Conor is considering fighting Jorge, if he is fighting Jorge, he should absolutely say that BMF belt's on the table too.
Is it no matter who Masvidal fights next, does that BMF have to be on the line? I don't think.
No, I don't think it is if he fights Usman for the title. I don't think it is.
What if Usman says the only way I'll fight you is if your BMF title's on the line?
I don't think Usman's in the position to be making demands like that.
As the title holder, I think he might be.
Well, I understand that, and he should be in the position to be making those demands, but I still don't think he is.
Okay, fair enough. So you got that one queued up?
And respect to Usman, by the way. He did so well against Colby. I gush about that fight. Don't make him sound
he's really done so well his whole career. He did amazing versus Tyron Woodley as well.
Yeah, we disagree. Okay, this is from...
You disagree that he did well against
No, he did well against Woodley, but it wasn't a performance like the Colby Covington stunning classic. Okay, let's move
Well,
on. Okay, Kairos' question right here, folks.
Going on, guys. RDA versus Michael Chiesa is, I believe, next weekend. Where does RDA go with a win here? Where does Michael Chiesa go with a win here? Also, where does the loser go? Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Nice. Good question.
All right, Kairos, everything okay, bro? He sounded a little like he's usually so happy. He sounded like
Well, he's probably like us. It's a tough Sunday after, UFC 246. I think everybody was excited to celebrate,
True
we got
that.
fights and Conor coming back.
True dat. All right, so you want to take this first? Welterweight, what
I think, first off, I'm taking RDA to win.
Yeah, as am I.
So, I don't know really what would be next for him at that point. He's coming off, I think he's lost 3 in a row, or maybe 3 out of his last 4 versus, the top 3 guys in the division.
He beat Kevin Lee, so he beat Kevin Lee, remember, so.
Yeah, that would be the 1 out of 4 I'm talking about.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, Kevin Lee's back down at 155 because he couldn't necessarily hang at 170. So I think that doesn't look as impressive after the fact, but he did win that fight, but he's lost 3 or 4, I'm pretty sure. So he's not getting a title shot anytime soon. Help me out here. I have no idea where he would go at 170. Call up the list.
No, I think that RDA could fight, Gilbert Burns, Neil Magny, Ling Jing.
Yeah, okay, I like that. RDA versus the winner of Gilbert Burns and Damian Maia sounds like a good one. Because aren't they fighting?
I believe that sounds right. Okay.
So if he wins, I could see him fighting the winner of that fight. If Chiesa wins, I almost like the same fight.
Yeah. And by the way, Chiesa lost his. I didn't realize he lost his ranked status.
Who?
Michael Chiesa is no longer ranked. Did you know that?
At 170, he's only beaten Diego Sanchez and Carlos Condit, so he doesn't really deserve to be ranked in my opinion. But
just surprising. Yeah. I get it.
Was he ranked against either of those guys at 170?
Good question. I just remember him being ranked. Obviously, I don't know. I think of him as a ranked fighter. It's weird. I understand.
Yeah. Well, at lightweight he was ranked. I'm just not sure he's cracked that 170.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Okay. All right. So if we don't have anything left, Fight Geek, take us away.
All right, guys. As usual, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, and more. I'm at the Fight Geek MMA. He's at Phil, the MMA dude. We're at Split_podcast. It's 4 words. The Split Decision Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week. Peace.